What is up, guys? It is Dalton from DT's Cool Cars, where we, meaning if you are watching this video, you are included, are on our way to building a $1 million Pokemon business. A normal day in the life of someone who sells Pokemon full-time. I'm not a reseller. I have a business. I have a Pokemon business that I'm working actively to grow, but I'm on my way to bank. I'm gonna send my aunt 6,000 USDs, that's dollars, and she is gonna mule some Pokemon cards from Louisiana over to the great state of Texas. Now, yes, it is Pokemon cards, but it's actually just a bunch of sealed products. So, buddy of mine, mentor friend, is selling his, I said this yesterday, I mentioned selling all his inventory, but it's really good stuff. It's 151 Sam's Club bundle thingies, a bunch of surprise bundles, a bunch of, well, some Ascended Heroes ETBs, etc., etc. So very excited about it, but he only wants cash, so I gotta send the cash to her. Then he has to give, she has to give the cash to him. Then he has to load up 2 big tubs of Pokemon cards, and then she has to drive it across state lines. So hopefully there's no tariffs involved in that. Boom. But also another thing in the normal life of a Pokemon seller, somebody called today, a guy I've done business with before, and he opens up packs on Whatnot or whichever one it is, and he wants to buy out a bunch of Infernal X booster packs I have, a bunch of Ninja Spinner, and then just some other products. So other good news, I need to keep on knocking on wood here. I don't know what wood is in this car, but I've already sold about $1,500 worth of the 151 stuff that I uploaded 2 days ago. So then that's been really cool. Someone already bought up all the Gengars. So one purchase that I have right here is for $1,000. I had another purchase worth of $300, and then I had another purchase, and then somebody bought one of the sealed Mewtwo promos. So far that's been really good, very exciting. Also, again, I'm just really gearing up for the TCG Player Sale Store. I keep on saying things I'm gonna do differently. I don't know how, I'm gonna do things in the future and stuff like that. But, the thing about me is I'm always gonna run at something. I'm not gonna try to slow play it. I will figure it out when I figure it out. I am a big fan of the bulk buys and the bulk deals. Bulk deals lead into other bulk deals, but, Poke&E talks about it really, really well. Just because you're the nice guy doesn't mean it's going to translate to success or to dollars or to long-term partnerships. I typically let someone get the better end of a deal if it's going to turn into repeat business and repeat customers. I'm always going to be the nice guy. It's just how I'm wired mentally and psychologically or whatever. All right, guys, money has been deposited. Now we are on our way to the United States Postal Service. One thing that's crazy, when you send orders on eBay, obviously you don't see it on when you send normal orders on TCG Player, but eBay always sets a projection date on there, and it's crazy that most orders, get there, and I would say within 7 days-ish. So that just goes to show you that most likely if someone ever messages you about where's my order, and it's like a legit, like where's my order, it's been like 10, 12 days, business days since you sent it, probably ain't coming. Another thing I do want to go and check is I do want to see what I did in sales last year on the Mayhem, May sale. I will say my business has changed a lot since then. Last year, at this time, I had 2 employees, and it was mainly, I had, 50,000 cars listed. I want to say I did about 5,000 in sales, I think. I'll definitely break that this year. I mean, easy, I'll break that this year. Now that I was thinking about it yesterday, the sale isn't nearly as big as like the Cyber Weekend or whatever for Thanksgiving, but I'm also using this as a jump off point to reset my TCG Player business, but also to reset my Instagram, some of my marketing material. I do think, right now, while the Japanese singles are the way they are and Whatnot, or not singles, but the way the Japanese booster boxes are, maybe it's better for me to focus on pushing my TCG Player Pro site. I've set up my TCG Player Pro site about 5-6 times, and I always deactivate it after about a month because I haven't gotten any sales. But I think this time I can do a lot better job of it. You know, so far, I mean, it's only been like 7 or 8 days, but I posted a YouTube video every day. Since then, my Instagram has gone down a little bit, but I've just onboarded some different things and started, you know, doing some different things. So, you know, not an excuse, but, you know, I need to make sure that I'm doing something on Instagram at least daily. And, you know, I have a really awesome collection of cards right now. I would say in the matter of a couple of weeks, my inventory dollar amount went from about $2,000 to, you know, I'm about 8, maybe 9. No, I'm about $8,000 right now worth of inventory on TCG Player. I set a goal of getting up to 25 before the sale. I don't think that's going to happen, but I'll put on another probably close to $9,000, because the thing is, this stuff goes up every single day. You know, the 151 Sam's Club thingamajiggies, those go up every single day. It was 222, 224 when Bump and I made the agreement. That's the guy's name. And now, like, last sold was like 234. So I know, like, and then also with, you know, the guy calling today, I should have maybe another couple of grand-ish that I can spend on inventory. I did kind of have a verbal agreement with someone to buy a few Foundations collector booster boxes at actually a pretty good price. So I might just go ahead and go through with that. I think Magic collector booster boxes are pretty cool. Some people don't think they're cool. You know, it's you know, Magic players are very different than Pokemon players, which is fine. There's room for everybody in the TCG world, but it's just a different player. But I like collector booster boxes. I think they're super cool. If I could have one booster box as my collection, well, okay, with, you know, not talking about, you know, like Gym Heroes and Gym Challenge and whatnot. If I could have one booster box, it'd be the Final Fantasy Magic the Gathering booster box, collector booster box. I have one of those suckers that I bought for $7.50, and I opened it, and I'm glad I opened it because I love Final Fantasy, but I wish I never opened that freaking thing. And it's not even about how much it's worth. I think right now they're worth like $1,200. It's not even about how much they're worth. It's just, I love Final Fantasy, and with the collecting booster boxes, those are boot. They don't reprint them, so it'd be cool to have. But, you know, maybe I've always told myself with the first time I make, like, I don't know, probably when I make my first million, I'll probably go buy me a Rolex, just because it's like a family thing. But maybe when I make my first million, maybe I'll go buy me a collector booster. Actually, if I make my first million, if I did anything, I probably would go out and buy a Gym Heroes or Gym Challenge collector, or not collector, but first edition booster boxes. If you haven't picked it, I would say Gym Challenge. You know, people always talk about the best set ever is. Gym Heroes and Gym Challenge. Those are the best booster boxes, are the best sets of all time. There's some other sets you could probably talk about. But like some of the e-reader sets are pretty lit. But anyone who says a modern set, I mean, I'm not the kind of person that's a hater. Everyone has their own opinion. But anything modern, although Crown Zenith is pretty effing lit. All right, guys, I'm about to walk into the United States Postal Service where I bought stamps yesterday. So make sure you're buying stamps for your May Madness sales. All right, 2 things. One, I feel like we all, I can even especially speak for myself, I feel like we all leave dollars on the table when it comes, oh my God, it's annoying. I feel like we all leave dollars on the table when it comes to shipping. Shipping is something I just haven't like 100% figured out. You know, obviously there's a lot of variables with it, but I know I leave lots of dollars on the table with that. And then going back to like being the nice guy, you know, part of me wishes I was like that ruthless businessman that, you know, scraped out 2% and stuff like that. But, you know, it's just not my personality. It's just not. But again, it's super important, guys, that you do stand your ground with certain things. I am going to buy more Chinese and whatnot. And I am going to, even though like it kind of, it's just hard to move sometimes. I don't like moving things locally really anymore to an extent. But you know, people don't always just pay it forward. That's not always just a rule of thought, you know. Gone are the days of how businesses are built, you know, with handshake agreements and with positive vibes and positive energy and stuff like that. Like at the end of the day, business is business. And you want people to pay it forward, but they may not always do that, right? Speaking of vintage, I definitely wish it was easier to get bulk vintage, you know, not that I think it's super profitable, but just in, I guess, vintage in general, the issue with bulk lots is, or collections is people are always going to overcharge for vintage lots, right? I mean, they're just going to overcharge for it. And then the flip side of that, the problem with bulk is, I mean, it's just a lot of conditioning goes into it, but you know, bulk or vintage is something I'm just a lot more passionate about. I mean, I do love modern, don't get me wrong. You know, Crown Zenith, one of my favorites. I mean, one of the best sets. So I mean, I love, you know, and even 151, I get it, but you know, I'm just not the biggest fan of well, the funny thing is, now that I'm talking about vintage, the thing about selling vintage on TCG Player, it's gonna move a lot slower on TCG Player. I will say, no offense to, you know, any new sellers, but I definitely understand customers' trepidation buying vintage cards off of TCG Player, because a lot of times the conditioning isn't, you know, super right. So I get that of it. So that is a way you can separate yourself. However, it's so funny because of how I talk about things. If you have vintage, it's probably best to put it on eBay, as long as you have a good, fast way of uploading cards, which now that I have the Rika Sorta, I do. And I'm pretty sure, maybe possibly, that Rika Sorta, dude, I'm the biggest doofus on the planet. The Sword Swifter, I think it does integrate with eBay. And if it does integrate with eBay, maybe eventually I do put the vintage stuff, because the other thing about vintage is not being printed anymore. Now, I understand certain older sets, you know, Crown Zenith, stuff like that's not getting printed anymore, but vintage is never, as goofy as it sounds, vintage is never going to go out of style, you know. Another thing about the vintage on TCG Player is you see a jack ton of listings for unlimited. There's not a lot of first editions. There's just a lot of, like, the lesser value cards, right? Which obviously I talked about bulk, but however, the more value cards, you can definitely put a premium on them because there's just not a lot of listings for them. But overall, guys, I think that might be it for me today. I have to go home and finish making, like, assembling a bed, which actually I was doing it yesterday, and I just, on a whim, I just started watching Attack on Titan again, and like, there's some parts of Attack on Titan that's just so melodramatic, you just can't really handle it. But I mean, there's also parts where it's pretty badass. I'm not the biggest fan of flashbacks in series and books and whatnot, but I think the flashbacks are pretty cool in Attack on Titan. So if you guys have any other anime recommendations that are good, I'm not super anime anymore. I used to watch a lot as a kid, but the melodramaticness gets me too much sometimes. Anyway, guys, that might be all I have today. If I don't talk to you guys again, y'all have a wonderful day. Have an amazing Memorial Day weekend in some way, form, fashion. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. DT out.